Everyone, and welcome back to Unshakable Pursuit. Back here with my man Sam. Thanks again for joining us, bro, for second part of our conversation.
It's an honor, man. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely, bro. I know first half of the discussion, we had a chance to talk through what it really looks like to go through our singleness well, to steward that season and see it as something where God is forming us, and something where we're developing and growing, not as just something that we have to pass through and almost skip to get to the next level. But there's something that God, right, wants to do in us, form in us, maybe things He also wants to work out of us in
Sure,
that season
sure.
so that when we get to God willing, the next stage of relationship and find someone maybe that we're dating, that we can do that well, right? And that we can engage in that season
Hmm.
in a healthy way.
Hmm.
And that season is what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into a discussion on what dating looks like.
Hmm.
Broad topic, I know. I'm sure one that a lot of people think about a lot and reflect on and talk about with their friends. And I know we've discussed this quite a bit as well. And you've served as someone that has been a confidant for me in a lot of those moments and
Hmm.
source of wise counsel. So I'm looking forward to um, more people being able to kind of hear your wisdom, perspective, and kind of just insights on this stage. So I'm looking forward to discussing it with you, man. And before we dive in, it's a big topic, right? And it's probably one that it gets people to tune in because a lot of people are, in that season, reflecting on that season. Why do you think it's an important one for us to discuss?
Oh my goodness. I think that there can be a lot of clumsiness around it.
Oh, yeah, it's a good word.
At times, yeah, I think it's important to bring it into light and to really have an honest conversation from the perspective of the light of God's word.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and just talk about things that are healthy, things that are unhealthy, things that are good, things that are not good.
yeah,
And so, yeah, I think it's a very important topic to talk about.
absolutely. And the first episode we had, we talked through stewarding our singleness and the internal work that we have to do,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And this one, we're going to start seeing, okay, hopefully the fruits of that internal work as we move externally and how we relate and engage with others in this
Hmm.
process of dating. So maybe as we dive in, in a world of swiping and situationships, how does a man of God really navigate the field of dating without losing his soul, or also immaturely or unnecessarily breaking hearts?
Yeah. There's a verse in Psalms where David said, I kept the Lord always before me.
Yeah.
And I think that is imperative when it comes to handling people well, handling relationships well, platonic or romantic,
Hmm.
is keeping the Lord always before you. There's a beautiful verse in, I believe it's First Peter, where it says, humble yourself in the sight of God.
Hmm.
And it's easy to be humble in the sight of other people and be prideful in the eyes of God.
Yeah.
And it's also possible to be humble in the sight of God and be prideful in the sight of other people. But I think when you're genuinely humble in the sight of God, you're ultimately living before His eyes,
Hmm.
and that's not at the exclusion of accountability from brothers, but um, there's a consciousness of God's sight over you that filters your motivations, filters your actions, your
Hmm.
expressions. And so I think that is something that is huge,
Yeah.
having the Lord always before your face.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying. And if we approach things with that in mind, it can inform almost a level of somberness in how we approach
Hmm.
things. I mean, dating should be fun, right? But it also shouldn't be reckless,
Sure.
right? And I think that when we approach it with the perspective you're sharing, you can kind of take heed and enjoy the process of dating and getting to know people without being reckless and unnecessarily hurting others or yourself in
Hmm.
that process.
Hmm.
And so, Sam, I see a lot of stuff, honestly, that goes on in dating, good, bad, and ugly. We'll get into some of it, not all of it, today.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've seen often, and even I've sometimes struggled with, is initial attraction, right? You get super excited, and sometimes your emotions go way ahead of you. And so, I see a lot of guys leading with intensity and like this emotional excitement, but they have zero intentionality yet, right? And it's all kind of emotion based. Um, in your mind, Why is that dangerous?
Because not everything that glitters is gold.
Oh, yeah,
And we all know that until you experience it.
yeah.
Um, for me, that was always problematic. Not just conceptually, but even in terms of practicality in my own personal life. There were women that I thought were very attractive, and then as I would come within proximity, it's like, oh, this is actually not what I want. Um, and vice versa. I've had female friends who maybe they were excited about a guy, and then when they came in closer, it was like, okay, yeah, this is not what I want. And so, a lot of times our emotions will, fluctuate predicated on, what our eyes are reporting to us. And so, yeah, I think your emotions shouldn't be getting so excited about someone who's a stranger to you,
Mm.
someone that you don't know. And I'm a big believer in if I don't know you, I don't know you. As simple as that sounds.
Yeah,
If I don't know you, I don't have the right to be surprised by what you do or don't do,
I have
by
no
what you
basis
believe
for
or
it.
don't believe. I have no basis for it.
Yeah.
And so I can't allow myself to be surprised by who you are or who you're not. I have to be fully in tune with the fact that I am discovering you.
Mm.
You know, you may be in my community, that doesn't mean I know you.
Yes.
And I think also one big thing that I see is we live in this social media generation where I think we have this conception that I can go through a few of your pictures and get a good understanding of who you are.
Oh, you like to travel. Oh, it seems like you like to work out.
Yeah, you're this kind of
Oh, you have
person.
a couple Bible verses on your story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, and so we think that we can
Marry me.
just, yeah. And so we think we can just like see somebody
Yeah.
in a context from the outside looking in, and we feel certain that, oh, we know who they are, or they're
Mhm.
this kind of person or that kind of person. Um, and I've always been the kind of person who believes very firmly that you should be slow to make conclusions, quick to ask questions,
Yeah.
as opposed to being quick to make conclusions
Yes.
and slow to ask questions.
Yeah.
And so there's like a presupposition or a preoccupation rather with certitude without evidence.
Because that'll get you hurt.
Yes, it'll get you hurt. It'll
Because
get you
you'll,
disappointed. And yeah.
yeah, because you'll come into something, you can very easily, especially because people are looking to be in a relationship, right? So you're not trying to disprove the thesis, right? The thesis is I want to be in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not trying to disprove it. You're just trying to prove it. So if I see two things that I like, right? I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm sure the rest of it I'll figure it out later, but we can work through it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus this is something that is covenantal. This is something that I take seriously. Um, this is something that has to be dealt with wisdom and intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean you shouldn't have fun?
Mm-hmm.
And by fun, I mean like enjoy the process of discovery. I like that you said discovery
Mm-hmm.
because it is a discovery, right? There's
Yes.
like, it's like a puzzle. You're just learning more and more. And sometimes, like, yo, I didn't know there was that piece, right? In there. And so that part of it is fun because you're like, oh, didn't expect to learn that about you, but
Mm-hmm.
that's great. That's a
Mm-hmm.
quirk or whatever. In that, though, there should be an intention in the pursuit and a focus ultimately on what you're trying to do, which is
Mm-hmm.
assess,
Sure.
right? You're not marrying this person right now, you're assessing this person.
Mm-hmm.
And in assessing them, you need to figure out, like, okay, what are the questions I need to ask? Um, how am I presenting myself, right? How are we engaging? Obviously, I'm excited, and so I should have some level of excitement to continue that engagement.
Mm-hmm.
But there also needs to be a level of restraint that you have, right? Like you said, slow to come to conclusion and quick to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understanding, hey, if what I'm ultimately looking for is long-term partnership, right? Lifelong partnership, that's worth taking the time to figure out. And I know that in our society,
Mm-hmm.
it's very much a microwave environment where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, sometimes like especially celebrity culture models it for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday this couple wasn't dating, today they're everywhere together.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're traveling together. And you're just like, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so we can frame in our minds almost this like Cinderella story of overnight I go from not knowing you to this is the love of my life and I know this is my future person. Now, some people might have like this kind of story where it does end up being their person, but I think it's risky, right? In not evaluating and asking the questions you need to. So as you think about this, broadly speaking, maybe what do you think are the risks there, right? We talk about getting hurt or, maybe disappointed. Like, what are the risks in jumping the gun emotionally too soon?
Um, I think some obvious things would be disappointment,
Mm,
your heart getting broken, or wounded, hurt, whatever.
yeah,
Um, Becoming jaded,
yeah,
um, your self worth or self esteem maybe being impacted. I think a disorientation of your perception. A lot of times, our affection can distort our perception.
mm,
And so, if you have all of these emotions for someone who fundamentally is a stranger,
yeah,
it'll be very difficult for you to see them correctly and rightly and soberly. And then you end up getting into something deep with them, and you end up potentially getting, disappointed or realizing, oh, this person changed. When in reality, they may have never changed. You didn't see them right correctly,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, yeah, those are a few things
Yeah, you can't understand the whole book by reading the first chapter
for
too,
sure,
right?
for
There's a
sure.
lot more that you need to get into. And I agree with what you're saying. And I think from the other perspective, not only are you hurting yourself, you might be hurting them. You
Hmm.
might give them premature security,
Hmm.
right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, like you're everything I've been looking for. I'm so committed to you. And then 2 weeks later you realize, yeah, this isn't gonna work.
Hmm.
But I said I said this, so how can I go back on my word so quickly?
Hmm.
And then pride gets into it almost like, oh
Hmm.
well I need to make it work. And then you end up staying in something longer than you should. And that
Hmm.
is a spiral effect, right? Just makes it even more and more painful. So I agree with what you're saying there. I think
Hmm.
that it's dangerous and risky on both sides
For
to do
sure,
that,
for
right?
sure.
Hurting yourself and hurting the person.
Hmm.
Um, so then as we think about, okay, well, what are some of, you said be slow to, um, like
Quick to ask questions, slow to make conclusions.
exactly. So speaking of, the questions, being quick to ask questions, when you're in that initial dating phase, right? Evaluation, figuring out, do I want to take, I know there's a lot of rules around dating and, oh, is this like, are we a boyfriend and girlfriend now? Are we talking, whatever, right? The way that I'm kind of explaining it here is I'm big on clarity.
Hmm.
So until I have asked you to be my girlfriend, you are not my girlfriend. You are someone that I'm talking to. So like I'm very much clear as to, hey, I'm getting to know you.
Hmm.
Um, then I've learned I need to be clear about I'm getting to know you exclusively. And then from there, evaluate and figure out, okay, I want to ask you to be my girlfriend. And now we are in a committed relationship, evaluating whether or not we'll go into partnership and marriage in the
Sure,
future.
sure.
So as we are in the process of getting to that point of being boyfriend and girlfriend, right? What are some of the questions that you've employed or you've heard that you've found to be really helpful in effectively getting to know, you know, someone really well,
Hmm.
um, and getting kind of deeper than some of those initial superficial things that we see.
Sure. I might think a little bit differently when it comes to this. I think in my personal experience, and yeah, in my personal experience, the weightiest questions have always been answered, have always been answered not from what they say, but what they do.
Mm,
I'm a very observant person.
mm,
And from what I observe, I just let the dice roll where they dice,
yeah,
right? So, um, I believe actions speak louder than words.
yeah,
And, somebody once said, if there's ever a discrepancy between what someone says and what they do, go with what they do every time,
for sure.
whatever that communicates, right? And
Yeah.
so, but I mean, there are some important questions to ask, earlier on. I think for me, a big one is, values. What are your values? Why do you have those? I think it's important to not just ask, what are your values? Why do you have those values?
Hmm.
Where did they come from?
Hmm.
Why are they important to you? And what are the repercussions if you were to deviate from those values? I think those are important things to ask.
Yeah.
Um, Childhood is important. I just don't know how deep you could get into that when you're first interacting with someone, right? So there's a lot of weighty questions that are important that can
Yeah.
really say a lot about who a person is or what they've come out of. That may not be the most appropriate early on, but I think values
Yeah.
your faith.
Yeah.
How did you come to your faith?
Yeah.
How important is your faith to you? Um, how does your faith keep you grounded?
Yeah.
And what do you think would happen to you if you were to deviate from your faith? Those are a couple. Um,
That's good.
yeah. And third one, big one for me would be emotional, or excuse me, conflict resolution. And again, for me personally, I wouldn't really necessarily ask about how they deal with conflict. I would just wait and see.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times there can be a big gap between, what a person says and what they do when it comes to conflict resolution. Yeah.
Yeah, as you were saying that, and I think those were so good. Um, and I'll touch on the childhood one because I think that's important to discuss. I got like just a framework as we're talking about this, what I'll call the four F's: faith, family, focus, and feelings, even though I'll explain what I mean. So like faith perspective, like what does your relationship with God look like? Like where did that start? Where is that relationship now? What does it really look like for you? Not, oh, I read the Bible and I do, like, what does your personal relationship with God look like? Do you have a life that's submitted to Him? And obviously that's something that you share, but I need to see.
Yeah.
Right? So some of that takes some time. Right? What does it look like? What does serving look like to you? Right? What does, sharing the gospel look like to you? Right? What are the core tenets of what you truly believe? Because what I've learned in some of these initial conversations is that just because you and I say that we're both believers and that we're following Jesus doesn't mean that our faith we interpret our faith in the same way when it comes to a lot of let's say even like social things in the world, right? And there's a lot of variation there I've found in my experience, which has actually been deal breakers for me many times.
Yeah.
So it's like, so faith is that big piece, right? Family, you talked about childhood. So what did your childhood look like? And for me personally, I do want to get into those things in that initial phase. Obviously, I'm not gonna ask you to like share all your traumas and things like that if you have them, because I know that's deeply personal.
Sure.
But in the process of evaluation, there are certain things I'd like to know, right? Like what was your parents' relationship like, right? A lot of people, unfortunately, have experienced divorce, like parents being divorced, and so like how has that affected you? What did it look like growing up in that? How did that inform how you saw love, right? What does your relationship with your dad look like? What does your relationship with your mom look like, right? Who are other maybe people that served as caretakers, and how did that inform the way that you see a relationship or security? Because a lot of times the relationship that oftentimes I've heard, women have with their dad can inform a lot of how they see love and how they see men. And so those are, things I want to, learn about. And from a family piece, also like what type of family are you looking to have? Are you looking to start a family? Are you not looking to start a family, right? How connected are you with your, with your extended relatives, etc.? Focus. Where's your head at? What's your vision for your life? Obviously, I'll share my vision and perspective. Like, where's your vision for your life? What things are you focused on right now? What do you feel like God is calling you towards? Where have you moved your focus from? And if you've shifted it, why have you shifted it? And then feelings, right? And I use that just for the four F's, but really it's the emotions.
Yeah.
Right? How do you deal with conflict? How do you deal with pain?
It's good.
Right? How do you deal with silence and solitude? Are you someone that needs your space? Right? Before you come back and discuss things. Right? How have you navigated disappointment in people and things? Right?
That's a good
Are
one.
you someone that is willing to open up and share? Or do you need some time to process on your own first?
Yeah.
Have you gone to therapy? Do you want to go to therapy? What does trust look like for you? Has your trust ever been broken? Have you ever broken someone's trust? All these kinds of things help you get to a level of depth in relationship with someone and a depth and knowledge of just getting to know them. And obviously it sounds like a lot. I just mentioned a lot of questions, but over the course of many dates, getting to know someone, you have the opportunity to ask these things.
Sure.
And the reason I bring it up is because I think sometimes we can focus. Oh, also, let's add one more F, fun, right? How do you have fun? Sometimes we forget that one.
Yeah.
What do you do to relax?
Yeah.
How do you like let your hair down per se, right? Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Because that sometimes is a big point of difference for some people, right? The way that some people might be willing to have fun, others might see as like, oh, I would I can't be found in those environments or
Yeah,
spaces, right?
yeah,
So that actually can come to be a deal breaker for some
yeah.
people. But I think in doing this, you're using your relationship, or not your relationship, but your stage of evaluation to actually evaluate this person and get to know them. And in doing it, you also hopefully are answering the same questions. So they're also getting a pretty clear picture
Hmm.
of who you are,
Hmm.
right? And who God's forming you to be, who
Hmm.
you're becoming.
Yeah.
So I think that with what you're sharing in some of these questions, hopefully it gives a foundation
Hmm.
for questions that guys can think about,
Yeah.
sharing to
Hmm.
evaluate right where they're
Hmm.
at.
Yeah. And I think it's important to ask the intentional questions as opposed to just vibing or just, enjoying their
Yeah.
company. Because yeah,
What does
those,
that even mean? I'm sorry. I hear that so much like, yeah, we vibed. Okay, so you had a chemistry.
hmm
Like you liked being with them, you liked walking with them. Like, I don't know. If I always find when people say vibing, I'm like, does that mean you just have fun together?
yeah. I think chemistry can be intoxicating.
Yeah. A lot of people are
And
drunk on it.
yes, a lot of people are drunk on it and they don't want to sober up from it, right? And
Mm,
I think if you don't have a good relationship with what you want and what
yeah.
you need, it's easy to be on that ride for a long time. And maybe have a just turn a blind eye to who the person really is
And not want to get off it.
and not want to get off it, right?
Right.
But if you have a firm relationship with what you want and what you need,
Yeah.
you won't be so controlled by what your emotions are reporting.
I think I like what you just said. Chemistry can be intoxicating.
Hmm.
And in being intoxicating, part of intoxication is you don't think clearly
Hmm.
or the way that you would have.
Hmm.
And it can delude you in some ways.
Hmm.
And so it's like, man, I like this feeling that I have right now. Let me just chase that feeling and not focus on what God's maybe trying to form here.
Hmm.
Right? So, okay, I enjoy being around this person. They're fun. But are they actually like there's that saying, right? That people can be good to you but not good for you.
Yes.
Right? A lot of people can be good to you. There's a lot of guys that can take a woman out on a great date,
Hmm.
take you out to a restaurant. Any guy can do that. If you
Hmm.
have some money in your pocket, anyone can do that.
Yeah.
But are they actually good for you?
Hmm.
Right? Are they going to grow you, encourage you, lead you, like support you,
Hmm.
hold you accountable,
Hmm.
be willing to be held accountable?
Yeah.
Right? And that's where some of these questions, and to your point, time
Hmm.
comes into play.
Hmm.
Um, but sometimes the dating process can be tough because people have different perspectives on how to approach dating. And it's a bit of an interesting question here, but I've heard different opinions on this.
Hmm.
Should people date a single person at a time or date multiple people at the same time?
Hmm.
And I'm sure we'll get a lot of thoughts in the comments here, but what do you think?
Um, there's a lot. So, for example, if I were to throw out an example where let's say there's a woman who has subscribed to the notion of, I'm going to get to know one person at a time.
Yeah.
And let's say one guy approaches her with the intentions of getting to know her in a romantic kind of context, and she turns him down because she's getting to know one person at a time. And let's say that guy ends up turning her down after a week or two, or
Mm,
she turns him down, what have you, right? A lot of women will not reach back out to that guy
mm.
to say, hey, like things aren't working out now, or hey, I'm quote unquote single again. We can re-engage. And although they have the right to do that, a lot of women wouldn't do that, or they feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable because it's like the man's supposed to pursue, right? And so a lot of women wouldn't
But
reach
in a
back
way, he
out.
did, right?
He did, right? But she's telling him no. And some women, depending on the woman, some women are more private or they're not as communicative in a certain sense when it comes to details of their life.
Yeah.
So they may not say, I'm talking to someone right
Yeah.
now and I
They might
believe
just
in,
say no.
yeah, they'll just be like, I'm sorry, not right now or not for me, right?
Yeah.
And so the guy just thinks she's uninterested.
Yeah.
Um, but she may actually be interested in getting to know him, but she's subscribed to this notion of one person at a time.
Yeah.
And so it could be another guy that approaches, another guy that approaches. And so what I've seen at times happen, particularly in the example of women, is they have these options that are approaching them and they're turning it down. And then if it doesn't work out for them, that's two or three options that they've lost out on. And the dating pool is not as deep as you think it is, or not as wide, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like those could be two or three options that she doesn't really have. She can't afford to just lose like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Something else I've noticed is um, if someone is getting to know more than one person at a time, I don't think it should take more than two or three dates.
I agree with that.
Um, Again, if you're not out here just playing the field and you have a good relationship with what you want and what you
Yeah.
don't want, and you're being intentional, after 2 or 3 days, I think you should know. So like if it's stretched out, I feel like something else is
Mm-hmm.
going on, right? But and just in terms of what I think about it, uh, some of the reasons I've come across as to why people think it's wrong.
Yeah.
I remember earlier when you were talking, Nati, you mentioned how there's a difference between when I'm talking to you versus when I'm like dating you
Yeah.
versus when I'm in a committed relationship with you.
Yeah.
And my question that I ask to a lot of people is, what are the rules that change from context to context?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times my observation has been there is it's almost like the emotional commitment and loyalty that's consistent with a boyfriend girlfriend relationship is expected in a I'm just getting to know you right now.
Mm.
Um, and so I have found that interesting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so a lot of times for me, the way that I personally move is it's just predicated on what the person feels comfortable with. There's been times for me where I'm getting to know one particular woman and she's getting to know multiple guys. It doesn't bother me personally,
Mhm.
um, but if it's in vice versa, that may bother certain women.
Yeah.
Now, apart from how we would personally move, if we were to get down to like, is it right, is it wrong on an objective level, I personally feel like it's wrong.
Mm.
It's difficult to make an objective stance
Yeah. Yeah.
on that. Um, so yeah, I'll start from there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when it comes to, I used to think flat out it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I
Why
think
did you think that?
because for me personally, I don't have the emotional capacity to invest the due amount in multiple people at the same time. I like if I'm getting to know one person, like I asked you out for a reason. I want to get to know you for a reason. And me like having another person I'm doing that with is a distraction in my mind from my ability to effectively engage with the other person.
Sure,
Me personally,
sure.
what I've come to learn a little bit and observe is, to your point, if it's okay, maybe there's two, three people I've asked out, and I go on three first dates, and then okay, maybe I only go on two second dates, or maybe just one second date. Like there's a clear process of evaluation,
Sure.
right? And a clear process of figuring out, okay, maybe I understand better what I want in the context of getting to see how I engage with different types of people.
Mm-hmm.
So that might actually help me figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's several months or something going on,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that I think is like there's that I think is unhealthy.
Sure.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't and I think it becomes a deterrent because now, okay, I had a great date here, but then I have another date with this person tomorrow, so I can't really focus on
Mm-hmm.
what happened or how I engage with this person here because I have to move my mind to tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day something else or whatever, another week something else. It's just hard to find that consistency. So for me, that's why I know myself. I'm someone that, and I'm very clear. You know me, like
Sure.
I think clarity is kindness.
Sure.
And
That's
so
good.
when I'm asking someone on a date, we go on that first date. I usually will like try to understand from that point, and it's not a point of pressuring them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a point of clarity for me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, like I only like engage usually with, one person, maybe second date, like one person at a time
Mm-hmm.
in terms of getting to know them. Are you willing to do the same?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not willing to do that, that's okay.
Sure.
But I know myself, that's just not for me,
Fair.
right? And I am confident and like we said earlier, secure enough in myself to remove myself from that because I know for me that's not what I'd like.
Hmm.
Other people maybe they'd be willing to continue and figure it out, and I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong, but I just know how I would approach it for myself.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah. No, I think that's completely fair. And something that I've noticed is there's a lot of variables that can be involved, right?
Yeah.
It's like there can be a scenario where there's one person who's more sure about
Hmm.
the one person
Yeah, for sure.
than the other way around.
Yeah.
And so I've come across situations where there are people who they do get to know more than one person at the same time.
Yeah.
And then when they are with someone that they know they want,
Hmm.
they'll engage with that person. And then if they find out that that person is getting to know more than one person, then all of a sudden
Yeah,
it's a problem.
for sure.
And so, yeah, there can't be like a hypocrisy or a
Yeah.
self-centeredness. I'm also a big, I was saying to you earlier, it shouldn't take you more than
Yeah.
2 or 3 dates to know if this is what you want or what you don't want, assuming you have a good relationship with what you want.
Yeah.
And I've always said I have more respect for a woman who knows she doesn't want me than for a woman who doesn't know if she wants me.
Mm.
Right. And so,
Yeah, I don't know is a frustrating answer.
yeah. And well, for me, it is an answer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
For
true.
me, it is an answer. And
Yeah,
so
you're right.
for me,
But some guys, I will say this, some guys, it's a frustrating answer because they might like that person so much that they hold on to the hope of the potential of yes and I don't know versus the lack of clarity that I don't know gives.
yeah, I think that
I don't think that's a good
I
thing, but
think
I
that's
think it's a
nonsense.
reality.
Yeah, it happens for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But I think that, if you love yourself and you see the value in yourself
Mm,
and you know what you have to give, you
mm,
obviously see what they have to give, hence why
mm.
you pursued. Um,
That's that internal work again,
well,
right?
exactly. It
Yeah,
comes to that. And again, I think the confidence is not predicated on being selected
yeah,
frequently,
yeah.
but being able to take rejection gracefully
I love that.
without it detering anything inside of you, right? So it's like, hey, if you're not interested, it's not a problem.
All good.
I'm not going to talk about you negatively.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say anything bad about you. I'm not going to treat you different or be awkward around you. It is what it is. It's fine. You go about your business and everything's cool. Um, but yeah, I think for me, I'm just expecting from a woman
mm,
to know what you want and
hmm.
to know what you don't want. And if you don't, that's cool. I'm just not
I'm
going to
just
stick
out.
around for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and the thing that I think a lot of guys miss and people miss in relationship in general, and I say this to a lot of people, we've talked about this, is that there are two good outcomes in dating.
Mm-hmm.
One is this ends up being your person, happily ever after, you get married. The second is that you figure out that that's not your person, and you figure that out as soon as possible,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're not wasting their time, you're honoring them, you're not wasting your time, you're honoring yourself. And so I think that as we kind of move to closing this conversation, I want to touch on two things before we close. One is how practically do you pursue well? And then when you're realizing something isn't probably going in the direction of, continuing on, how do you end well?
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the first one. We've talked about it a bit here, right? But for you, what are the things that you would say are are points guys should consider within themselves of like, hey, these are the things I should do to pursue a woman well?
Mm-hmm. I think for a confident man, um, being able to communicate your interest, or communicate, hey, I want to get to know you in a more intentional
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's huge for a man, is being able to initiate that, that initial vulnerability, your transparency.
Hmm.
Like what you said earlier, clarity is kindness. Clarity is kindness.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, communicating that, hey, you're somebody that I'm interested in. I want to get to know you on a more intentional basis, and it being just that, right? You're
Yeah.
exploring and getting to know the person.
Yeah.
Um, and then doing that and really, enjoying the process, getting to know the process, and not getting your emotions so involved.
Yeah.
Whether you're the man or the woman, not getting your emotions so involved.
Hmm.
But again, just discovering and exploring who the person actually is and what they're about.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean that's always been the first thing for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I think with what you're saying, you know, as you're in this evaluation phase, what's important for me,
Hmm.
initiate with confidence,
Hmm.
and know what you bring to the table, obviously, and like be like don't hold back when if you're asking someone out, like, hey, this is what I see in you, this is why I appreciate you, I've noticed this about you,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a curiosity about what this could look like, and I'd
Mm-hmm.
love to get to know you better
Mm-hmm.
and see if there's something romantic here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as we do that, then you go through a process of leading intentional questions,
Mm-hmm.
right? And asking intentional questions.
Mm-hmm.
So like, hey, what does it look like for you to like be someone like what does partnership look like for you, right? And then all those questions that we were asking earlier, you start to evaluate. And I think that clarity is important at each stage of getting to know someone.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you move from maybe initial date to, hey, I want to be exclusively dating you, to determine if we should move into a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some people call exclusive dating boyfriend-girlfriend, so maybe it's semantics. But for me, when there's a level of an additional level of intentionality moving into the relationship, communicating that clearly, and also checking in regularly on how they're feeling about things,
Mm-hmm.
where they're seeing things, right, as well,
Mm-hmm.
inviting
Mm-hmm.
them into the conversation
Yeah.
and having that ongoing dialogue, I think I found to be really important for me. And as I'm going through it, uh, whether it's other brothers like you, other people at church, other friends I have, or some mentors as well, I think it's important to have a council of advisors
Sure. Sure.
that you surround yourself with
Mm-hmm.
because no matter what you try, you're going to have some level of emotion in it.
For sure.
You can't remove it completely.
Mm-hmm.
And so having an objective outside perspective, like, hey, here are the facts of our engagement so far. Here's what I like about this person. Here's what I'm not sure about. Like, what are your thoughts?
Mm,
And that can help guard you, right? From
sure.
your emotion leading you somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Many times your desire for someone can exceed your knowledge of them without you
Yeah,
even realizing
that's
it.
good.
And so having an outside voice that you're being transparent with and
Yeah.
letting them know what's been going on, and then having them, you should have people in your life where you give them the freedom to tell you exactly what they think
Yes.
and exactly how they're assessing the
Unvarnished.
situation.
Yeah.
Unvarnished, yes. Um, Irrespective of how that's going to make you feel. And yeah, you need some honest people in your life, who can disappoint you unintentionally if need
Mm.
be, right?
Hmm.
And so,
The wounds
yeah,
of a friend, right?
what was that?
The wounds of a friend.
The wounds of a friend.
Yeah.
Faithful are the wounds of a friend, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, like if you don't have anyone in your life who, if do you give people permission to
Yes.
be honest with you
Yes.
without punishing them,
Yes.
right? I think that's so
Absolutely.
important, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, if you don't have that, you're if you don't deal with reality, reality will deal with you,
Hmm.
you know? And so, I think that is the importance of having like friends who will be honest with us and hold us accountable and really speak into things that they feel like maybe aren't right. Because if you don't do that, then that might leak in your life with that person, you
Yeah.
know? And so,
That's true.
yeah.
As we think about, okay, we talk about pursuing well. I think the other thing that we also have to do is um, make sure that we are asking. We all have non-negotiables,
Hmm.
and I think sometimes we're scared to bring up our non-negotiables until later. And I've learned to bring up, if it's truly a non-negotiable, I've learned to start bringing it up on first date, like first date for me personally, because I really don't want to waste your time, and I definitely don't want to waste mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've had many times that I brought up a non-negotiable on the first date,
Hmm.
and it actually ended up being a point of difference,
Hmm.
and led to me being like, "Hey, this has been a really fun time. You're an awesome person,
Yeah.
but it seems like you have a fundamental belief here. I have a fundamental belief here, and we're gonna go our separate way. Like,
Hmm.
and then since it's a difference
Hmm.
and it's core to each of us, it's definitely core to me. I want to honor you and your time by being clear about that and going our
Sure.
separate ways.
Sure.
And so we talked about pursuing well, right? And I think this kind of hits on what it looks like to end something well.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you're someone's like I hopefully am you're someone's future husband,
Hmm.
right? And that person is someone's future wife.
Hmm.
And I want to leave you better for having known me,
Hmm.
right? I want to honor you in the discussion that we have. I want to honor you in the way that we engage so that even if it doesn't work out, hopefully you've grown and learned and enjoyed your time with me and likewise.
Hmm.
And we can be better for the person that's coming for us in the future.
Absolutely.
So as we close out, any final thoughts you might have, any last words of encouragement for guys and how they can ensure that they, pursue and close well?
Yeah. I think it's important to work on yourself in
Yeah,
multiple dimensions, not just spiritually, but to work on yourself spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, physically, um, and really having habits that are nourishing those areas of your
yeah,
life, having accountability, having a strong, robust relationship with God, and yeah, communicating. Not leaving mess everywhere you go, but communicating like, hey, this is something that I'm no longer into, or this is something that I want to progress further, and not being afraid of acceptance or rejection when it comes to that, right? And because that having that security in God thoroughly intact will enable you to still love people and not think anything bad about them, in the midst of their acceptance or rejection of
absolutely.
you, right?
Love that.
And so, yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah, having the confidence in God to communicate your intentions early on and to close it out at the end, and
sure.
communicate it clearly, and having a solid relationship with what you want and
Yes,
what you don't want, and
absolutely.
not allowing your desires to filter your perception of the person.
Totally agree, Sam.
Yeah,
Thank you so much
absolutely.
for sharing your perspective, your wisdom. I think we had a good conversation here. We could have talked about a lot more, and
Yes.
maybe we will talk about a lot more. We'll
Mhm.
see, guys. I don't know. But this has been such a blessing, bro. Thank you for your
Thanks
time.
for having me. It's been a
It's been
pleasure.
a
Always a
joy.
good time.
Yeah, thank you, brother. We chop it up all the time, but I'm glad that we were able to
Yeah,
have a conversation that we can share with
for
people
sure.
and get to hear their perspective. So thank you all for joining us today on Unshakable Pursuit. If this is something that has blessed you, make sure to share it with a brother. We'll have more episodes coming. Gideon's got some fun discussions coming up on marriage in the next couple episodes as well, so you'll want to tune into that. But until next time, thanks so much.